Hello and welcome to the Wall of Weird podcast. We are back with another episode of Superman and Lois, the series that, quite frankly, has been kicking ass. It's got to be said.
Yes, it has.
Truck just went past, but there you go. So this episode is called Holding the Wrench. And we're going to talk about it. And as per usual, we will spoil the crap out of it. So if you have not seen this and you do intend on watching it.
And can I just say this? Don't be surprised if I drop a spoiler for Smallville, because there is something very similar going on here that is very similar to what happened in Season 5, and I might not be able to shut up about it.
I thought it was more close to Season 9, but...
You know what? Yes, I could give you that. Probably a little bit closer to Season 9, but one plot line in particular that reminds me of what's going on here.
I'm sure somebody will mention Batman v Superman as well, but
yes. Yes. Did you not see my review? Yes.
Right. Okay, so we're going to dive straight in. As usual, we've got the cards to help us, these little talking points. And the first up is as follows: fixing the truck. That's right. So, basically this sets up the whole title of the episode, which is, holding the wrench. We've all heard that expression before. I was the guy who got left holding the wrench, which is usually what you say when you feel like a spare part. Well, in this case, it's Jonathan. And he is literally holding the wrench. They take that expression and they do a literal translation of it to say that he feels like a spare part because he is literally holding the wrench.
But that's
and
so
Superman
cool.
don't even need it.
How they kind of just illustrated that visually. Like, it's one of those things you kind of catch by the end of the episode and you go back and do a rewatch. But it's so clever because here is Jordan helping out Clark, super powerful. And there's Jonathan literally holding the wrench. Like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. It's such a simple thing as well.
Yes.
It's such a simple thing as well in life, where you might be stood there and you have the one thing that you know can help someone out, and when you offer it, it gives you this feeling of I'm part of the team. But when it gets shut down, it's kind of like, actually no, I'm not part of the team. I'm just some dude stood here holding a wrench. And it's like, I think we've all been in that position at some point. But when it's with family, when it's with your father, it's in this case, you can feel the pain in Jonathan from this moment, I think.
Yes, then, although I had to comment on the fact that they actually showed them fixing the truck after the accident. And I said...
continuity, way.
Not just that, but I think only one time in Smallville did they even show one of the broken trucks.
It got wheeled up,
Yeah, this poor family has new trucks all of a sudden.
And I feel like people like to make fun of that with Smallville, so I wonder if the writers were like, okay, we're gonna have Clark fix the truck.
We're gonna see how actually easy it is for Clark to get the truck right back up on its feet.
Do you think the showrunners for this have gone through Smallville and thought, right, we're going to sit here, we're going to take notes, we're going to say, what are the big criticisms that fans always level at the show, and we're going to directly address. So we're going to repeat what Smallville has done in some ways, but we're going to kind of do it better because we're going to ditch the...
Well, it feels like they do that with Smallville, Man of Steel, and in this episode in particular, Batman v Superman. It's like they sat down, watched all of those things, and like you said, took the notes, because you could see them like doing it in this episode. It's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they have to be fans of Superman to write for it, right? I mean...
Yeah.
At least some of the writers, maybe not all of them.
Yeah.
They are. So we're spoiling both shows that are talked about on this channel.
Of course.
That is right.
You had the spoiler alert.
Yeah. It's all good once you've had a spoiler alert.
Yep.
Right. Next up. So, investigating the RV. So, that's a rather cheesy shot there, Jonathan down in the corner, isn't it?
Yeah, but it works.
But yeah, so Jonathan goes with Lois to John Henry Irons' truck to basically investigate, see what they can find. And I actually can't remember what they do find. What do
they find out
The
about
first thing
Natalie.
They find is the videos. They find the videos are pictures of Lois and John married in that other world. But then they find Natalie.
The big thing is with the Natalie thing sets up later, which we can talk more about that, I guess, later. But the other thing, though, here with Jonathan, he saw his mom get killed by Superman.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we have that shot of him when he finds the weapons, and it is a little eerie. Now, I can see where in a moment you could think, well, does that mean that? Because I feel like in the show they're constantly have you thinking, well, are one of the sons going to go bad, and which one is it? In this episode, it was like, well, maybe it's Jonathan, but I still feel like, for me, it feels more like Jonathan is going to be more like a Batman type of, not as dark as him, but that kind of hero.
Like he wants to be a hero, so he'll make a suit or something and be a vigilante.
It helps if you're rich.
Yeah,
it does help, yes.
Well, I could see him training, getting weapons. That's what I think it's setting up. And it was also interesting. He said, I want to meet Natalie, or I really wish I could meet her. And I think
which is funny because he only finds out about Natalie at the end of the episode, right? Like that he was going to have a sister named Natalie. So it's very interesting that he had that moment in the van. I wish I could have met you.
Yes.
Well, no, because like he found out about her in the last episode, didn't he?
No, it's only at the very end of this episode where Lois tells him that story for the first time.
He finds out about the miscarriage, but this is the first time he sees the Natalie, I think, from the other world.
Like he doesn't know that his mom in this world had a miscarriage, had a daughter that they were going to name Natalie, but he does know that his mother, the same woman but in the other world, did have a daughter named Natalie. So when he sees her on the screen, in his mind, in some way, she is still his sister, and it's like, and I feel like that personal connection there, because we've had this kind of, I can't remember exactly where I've seen it, but I know I've seen stuff like this before, where you have a doppelganger of a character that another character is close to, and then they get killed, and it's all emotional, but it's actually not emotional because you're sat there as an audience member thinking, yeah, but that's not the real person, so I don't know why you're getting that emotional. Whereas here, the way they've plotted it, the way they've shown it, the way that the performances have sucked us into what's going on, I for the first time ever that this has been done in a show, I'm not sat there thinking, why is Jonathan getting so emotional? That's not even his mum. It's just someone who looks like his mum. Whereas this time, I'm feeling that connection where actually, that is the same woman, and whichever way you cut it, he's somewhat looking at someone who looks identical to his father, has the same powers as his father, and he's killing someone who looks identical to his mother. So
that's hard.
That's like, I don't know about you, but even if somebody gave me footage and said it's not your real mum and dad, it's from an alternate universe, but check this out, and then my dad goes for my mum with a knife or whatever, it's just
an image you never want to see, really. That's
an image burned into your brain that you cannot get out. It's there then. It's there for good. You're always going to see it. So it just, I feel like they just do a really good job here of setting that up in a way that, as I say, I've seen in other shows, but has never got me the way it did here. Because
and this actor who plays Jonathan, I forget his name. I think it's Jordan, right? But this actor who plays Jonathan, his facial expressions are so good. And so, like, when he's looking at this and you're seeing it sink in and that image get burned, and even at the end of the episode where he and his mom are crying and hugging, like, all of his facial expressions are so good. It's like you can feel what he's feeling when you're looking at his face.
I feel like this is a catalyst for him. And I think it's going to be a catalyst to him being a hero, him stepping up really and getting to that point. Although there is a slight possibility the birth of a villain, but I don't think so. Just based on Jonathan's character.
No, Jonathan is such a strong character. Like, I agree with you. Like, he'll be like a Batman type hero at some point. In other words, like vigilante who becomes a hero without a power because, like, he stood between Jordan and that other kid in the previous episode and took that punch in his hand, and he's powerless. So, like, I love this character, and I love this character.
Yeah.
Well, he's already on many occasions exhibited the signs of what makes a hero, because obviously it's not the powers that make the hero.
His self-sacrificing so much.
Yeah.
Right from the pilot when they were in the barn and the pipes, fell on him, and he automatically rushed and protected, Jordan.
Yeah, he's a hero. I that's the way I see it.
Yep.
Or maybe impulsive.
So we've just been in the RV. We get another. This doesn't happen directly after, but it feeds directly into it, which is almost getting blown up. So Jonathan basically, like, they come out of the RV because Lois has this moment where obviously we don't know what's going on inside at this point, but she's got something because of the footage she's seen with Natalie. She's really dealing with some stuff. But while she takes a break from that, goes to the house, Jonathan decides, you know what, I'm gonna go back to the RV and check around. And because of that little machine that's in there that recognises whoever's in, although why he didn't just say I'm Lex Luthor, because it seems to just think anyone is Lex Luthor who goes
then
in
he
there.
corrects it right at the very end of this episode. He goes, erase the Luthor profile, and I'm like, wait a minute, the flashback in the last episode made it seem like that's impossible.
It's just like everyone is Lex Luthor. So no, he makes the mistake of saying Jonathan. It's like, no, wrong. You're getting executed. So the RV basically sets its guns to obliterate, and Lois kind of finds out just in time to call Superman, and Superman comes and saves him just
in the nick of time.
So I was gonna say that if there was an incident where Jonathan should have had an ELT and he didn't, I was gonna bring it up. So I'm bringing it up. Why doesn't he have an ELT? There's no reason why he shouldn't have one.
Yeah, he should have had it in his pocket in the van with him for 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just gonna say that, and they still didn't give one to him. Why?
Because Jordan's had one.
Yeah, why give it to Jordan? Why does it matter if someone has powers or not? Why? I mean, Lois has one.
But out of all of them, out of all, like surely out of Jordan and Jonathan deserves one more because he can't defend himself with any powers.
Yep.
But that's a good catch.
What's really interesting to me about this scene is I wasn't on the edge of my seat because I thought, oh no, we might lose Jonathan. I knew he wasn't going to die. But what really added intensity to the scene was the next scene when they're in the kitchen and they're talking, and Jonathan brings up that in 1 second he would have been killed, and like how much his life just depended on his dad getting there on time. And it's weird because it's like post that scene, the scene got even more intense. Listening to Jonathan's perspective, going back to that theme of holding the wrench. I mean, here he is literally holding the wrench. He's powerless. And so he went in there looking for a weapon. He triggered an alarm. He almost dies. And it's like, Lois couldn't save him. If dad was late by even a fraction of a second, then he would have been toast. And it's like, oh gosh, it's like after the fact, it got more intense just listening to Jonathan's logic with it.
I was surprised at how long it took Clark to get there, just based on what's happened in the other episodes.
Oh, especially that episode where he dropped down in front of Jordan in like 1 second. It's like,
I mean, Lois actually says Clark, like, and then he goes. It's like, what happened? Jordan pushed the button and you were there. Lois hit the button the other time when she was getting that other Kryptonian that tried to kill her.
Yeah,
I gotta say the thing that sold it for me the most, like I did find it tense, but again, like Durban said, not because I genuinely thought that Jonathan was going to die. I found it tense because I can never remember this woman's name. The woman who plays Lois Lane.
Elizabeth Tulloch.
That's the one. I gotta say, she's fantastic. She's absolutely fantastic, and like, I've got to eat my words, because when I saw the posters for this series when it first came up, and it was like, I looked at them and I just thought, they do not look like Superman and Lois to me.
Right.
Like, hashtag not my Superman and Lois. I got to say that when I said that, I was an idiot, because the pair of these,
you were ignorant.
I was ignorant because I never watched Superman.
You judged too soon.
I judged too soon. I judged on looks. That's the thing. I went off on looks.
You judged the book by the cover, Brian.
That's right. And it's just like, honestly, if they keep this up for at least one season, I could very easily say this is my favourite Lois Lane, because she nails everything on an emotional
I really
level.
do like this Lois Lane. And she was super good in this episode, especially as we followed her on her emotional arc. Like, she was incredible. Erica Durance just still holds that special place in my heart. I love Erica Durance.
Yeah, but if Erica Durance did not look like Erica Durance, would she still? Because I feel like
she acted
don't get me
the
wrong.
same. Yes, it's not just her looks. When I was younger and had a slight crush on her, I love her personality. I really do.
I just feel like. Don't get me wrong. I love Erica Durance. You know me. I'm a Smallville fanatic. Absolutely love the show. It's just like what Tulloch brings to this role and the way it's written. She feels like a real character to me. A very real character.
She definitely has that.
There's never been a single moment so far in this season where she's at all felt a bit like a caricature, or that she's played for, for the sex kind of angle or anything. I mean, you look at blimey, season 5 of Smallville, every episode Lois was in, like, I don't know, some kind of bikini or some kind, and it's just like they've not relied on that at all in this show. And not in a woke way. They've not like kind of forced it down our throats to say we're not going to do that here because we're so woke. No, it's just because she's written as a woman, as someone who's got faults, failings, things in her past and stuff she's dealing with, but is also very strong, very committed, very headstrong. But I feel like her performance in it, particularly in this episode, some of the stuff in this episode.
No, her performance in this episode was incredible. Like, I can't imagine like the type of pain that she's carrying with her, or the guilt that she didn't realize she was still carrying, yet has been carrying this whole time for something that is absolutely not her fault. And then when that Band-Aid gets ripped off and she sees Natalie, this daughter she's always wanted to meet, and now she's seeing pictures of her. Like, when you go back and like when I watched this episode for the second time and they were in that van and she saw those pictures of Natalie, it was even more like you could feel the emotional change the first time you watch it, but it's like even more powerful the second time. So I agree with you, Brian. This Lois, like in terms of her acting and her performance and just being a real person and kind of feeling what she's going through, she does an amazing job.
I just want to say all the characters are really well written. I haven't found any character to be like a caricature, and just these storylines in this episode were very real and intense, and they're not taking it like a step too far either. It was
real enough. It took me extra time to put together a review, because I was trying to figure out how do I put words around this, and so I reshot so many things because there's like they dealt with some heavy stuff, but they did it really good.
Yeah, this is a heavy show.
Yeah, I saw that comment. Yes.
Oh man, let's not even go there right now with Flash. Oh.
That is so unbelievable. I haven't watched The Flash since season 4, but I can tell you leaps and bounds. This is the best show the CW has going for right now, especially in the superhero light.
It's the other stuff, it's the other CW shows that kind of is part of the problem of why I had the opinion I did going into this show. Because obviously Superman and Lois were in Supergirl before this. And while I've not seen loads of Supergirl, I've heard a lot about it. I've seen footage from it. I've seen the crossover episodes. And I do feel like the characters, as they were portrayed there, are very different to how they're portrayed here.
Yes.
I mean, particularly the amount of times in Supergirl that Superman was somehow made to seem inferior to her in order to prop her up as a character. And
on the one hand, you get that. It's a Supergirl show, so she's got to be the lead character. But sometimes it's the way they phrase it and the way they do it.
It should never be at the expense of Superman, though.
Yeah.
It should never be at the expense of Superman.
Yeah. So, it was very emasculating.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't see those episodes, and I won't.
Yeah, that's where I gave up on Supergirl, was the end of season 2, because it's like, look, I don't like, she and Superman squared off and fought because he was under the influence of silver kryptonite, and they do it like Smallville, where it's his paranoia and his fears, and so it was a very interesting fight, but it's exactly what Lisa said. They just emasculated him. Like, no, it's fine that she won the fight. She's the hero. This is her show. It's cool that she won the fight, but the way that they had him phrase stuff after that, it's like, oh, come on, don't do that. He's a hero in his own right and strong and has a super strong fan base. Why would you disrespect him to prop her up? That's not how you should be doing this.
Yeah.
Glad I will definitely not watch that then. Thank you.
It's just so like, this series comes out, we get the poster, and I'm looking at that poster and I'm seeing the two characters that I know of in this show, in Supergirl. So I'm transferring that, and I'm thinking so in my mind, the Superman and Lois is going to play in some kind of that kind of realm, and it's just not. The tone of it, the style, the writing, the performances, everything is on a completely different level.
Did you guys ever see Parenthood?
No.
It's interesting because it's a series, but this series almost reminds me, like, the drama is similar in a lot of ways, with they have a lot of family dynamics. Well, obviously that show's all about family dynamics. And it's similar to this show, but this show has the superhero flair to it. It's interesting.
And the villains.
And that's why I was drawn to this show. As soon as I wasn't too excited about it until I saw the promo, and then I saw the promo and I was like, oh, this is great. So,
well, what I loved about it is that it seems to be following the best of Smallville storylines with a very gritty Man of Steel look.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's brilliant how they're like taking the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. I can identify a lot with the show too, being a parent. So that's
right.
Same. And that feeds into what I was saying before about Tulloch's performance in that scene, and that's what that created tension for me, like seeing her dealing with her own emotion of not being able to get in that truck and having to rely on Superman getting there, and literally being powerless, just like checking your watch, when's he going to come. I could imagine that frustration as a parent myself. So we'll move on to the next scene, which kind of, builds on what we've just seen, which is that basically Lois totally blows up. She, like I said before, we don't realize that she's dealing with this personal baggage of having had a miscarriage. So she unloads on Jonathan because he got himself into trouble. And we've got a little clip here just to demonstrate how that scene plays out.
You're reckless and stupid! And if you had died, the only person that would have been to blame is yourself! Get out of my face!
Yeah.
That's
well, it's funny when you compare what she's saying to Jonathan's face to later when she's talking to the therapist and how she really feels it's her fault and she has nobody else to blame but herself for her miscarriage. Because, she started to list things and the therapist stopped her, but she goes, I never stopped working. And then the therapist is like, stop. It's not your fault. This is something that happened to you. But you can see as she's screaming at Jonathan, the way she's exploding, it's like she's in a way yelling at herself. Like all this baggage that she didn't even realize she was carrying, this unforgiveness towards herself that she didn't even realize was still there. It's like her taking that blame because she miscarried, and it's painful, especially when you know the reveal, and then you go back and you watch it. You can just see it and you feel it, and that's why, like I said, it took me extra time to get my review out because it was hard to talk about this stuff, like having not experienced any of that myself or anything. But it does a good job bringing you into the emotions of what she's going through.
Yeah, it's the guilt and the grief together that makes it, because she just hasn't had a chance to grieve. Or she hasn't realised that she's still grieving and hasn't got over it. So, the therapy sessions are helping with that. Or realising,
I got to say, I've been now, I haven't had quite the same type of experience as a Lois. I had like a super early miscarriage, so it wasn't like I had a name or whatever, but I didn't have to process that. But in terms of, I've been in a situation where, been that child being yelled at by that parent, and I've been that parent yelling at my child like that. And it's usually because you're upset. It's based on fear, it's based on grief, and it's usually something that's triggered you beforehand, and then you just can't you just can't hold it in anymore, and and I may not have said get out of your face, but I'd say get away from me, because I'm just so enraged right now, and I don't want to do or say anything that I regret, and I'm just like, please leave me alone right now.
Yeah,
I think that's often the case with most anger, though. I think often when people lose it with someone else, it's rarely about the thing they've really lost it about. Like road rage. Somebody cuts you up on the road, and it turns into like a crap storm of people shouting and stuff. It's not really about the person who's just cut you up off the road. It's about the crappy day you were having before that point. And that was the tipping point. So then you look like a maniac, but really, if anybody knew about your day and all that kind of stuff, they could probably relate and think, I feel sorry for the guy. But at the point, they just think, no, you're a bit of a nonce because you're getting out and shouting on the road. And I do think that happens a lot. And I think it just, when it's with family, or when it's conveyed like this with family, it becomes a lot more personal, because it's not just some random stranger you're getting angry at. It's someone that you're supposed to love. It's someone that you're supposed to be more understanding with. So seeing her go off like that at Jonathan is much more painful than what it would be if she was going off at some randomer in the local cafe. So
even more, you could see how powerful she was. Someone that's not frequently, like Jonathan, right, feels powerless, and when she that angry, she actually had a lot of power in that room. I mean, not just towards Jonathan, but even Clark was,
it's called letting off a steam for a reason, because it's all built up, and that pressure's got there, and it's got to come out. If it don't come out, then it,
you hurt yourself usually.
Mercenary X84. This episode definitely brought Lois up for me in terms of my favourite Lois Lane's ranking.
Yeah, this one would definitely be one of my favorites. I think once I spend more time with this Lois, the potential is there for her to be my favorite Lois Lane. It's just still Erica Durance for me, because Smallville has my favorite Lex Luthor and my favorite Lois Lane.
Yeah, I'll never have a different best Lex Luthor. Rosenbaum all the way.
Oh yeah.
Hashtag Rosenbaum forever. So yeah. But and Terry Hatcher. Okay. So next up we've got, obviously we've kind of grouped these together.
That's perfect to group those together, because
Lewis, as it's spelled there.
That's for our Spanish viewers.
For us, Luis and Clark, Superman and Lois. Everybody wants to watch us, the Superman and Lois. We'll.
Whoops.
I'll just play the clip.
We are the extraordinary humans in a family of super people, and we have to stick together.
Yeah. So,
and I think I could agree with Aubrey James, the comment there that Jonathan and Lois, like they're my favorite too, especially after this episode. They have become my favorite because that emotion in that scene was so well done. And this could have been such potential for them to do the CW thing that they do. Let's drag this out. Let's make it a soap opera thing. Let's drive this wedge in between them and dancing around, building up. But they took it and made it this incredible moment that actually ended up strengthening their relationship instead of letting that wall remain there. And so I think they did such a great job with that. And I loved, again, it's Jonathan's his facial expressions. This actor does such a good job, and so it's like I could again feel the emotion because he's wearing it on his sleeve.
Yeah, I Jonathan's definitely one of my favorite characters in this show. I do like Lois a lot. I also like Clark a lot. So I don't know yet about that. I don't know yet. That was a great scene though. I loved it. It was quite emotional. A very emotional episode.
Yeah.
I like that scene because Jordan has this kind of relationship now with his dad because they're on they've got something in common that makes them, you know, kind of unified in some way that you know, like it kind of forces Clark to give him attention in some ways because he's got to train him, he's got to show him how to use the powers, and it's not just something you can say, yeah, you figure that out for yourself, I'm going to hang out with Jonathan. No, it's circumstance. Sometimes that's the way it is as a parent. You know, if you've got more than one child, circumstance dictates how you know, the attention you have to give to one child over the other. It's not because you love one over the other, it's just because that's the circumstances. You know, like I've got a child who has autism, who's 7 years old, and then I've got a child who's 2. Sometimes the 2-year-old has to take precedence because they're a baby. They literally cannot fend for themselves. But the child, you know, the 7-year-old is going to feel like they're being pushed out, and that's not the intention. I love my children equally, but that's just circumstances, and that's kind of the same thing here with Superman, with Clark. He's having to give attention to Jordan because circumstance. So what I like about this scene is that, you know, we've seen this over the course of the season, this kind of separation there, but now we've got Jonathan having Lois as his confidant, as the one that is kind of the one he can relate to, the one that he can now go to and share that with. And again, it's not about loving one parent over the other, it's just sometimes circumstance dictates that you relate more to one parent than the other.
Yeah, and sometimes you connect to certain things with each one differently. And I've seen, I don't know if you've ever seen this picture online or whatever, but they have this picture where these kids are standing on boxes, but they're all different heights because they're trying to look out through the window because, you know, the kids are all different ages. And it says that's kind of what it's like being a parent. You know, you have to give what each child needs. It's not equal. You know, sometimes one child needs more attention because of some issue than another. And I can't believe our kids are the same age as Brian.
Plus, I think this scene is a great emotional resolve. I mean, we know there's going to be a journey as the episodes continue, but just for this episode and the story arc, it's a great resolve because, you know, Jonathan was back in that RV looking for weapons because of just how powerless and vulnerable he felt. And one of the ways this scene concludes is Lois saying, I understand that. I mean, we're extraordinary humans living with super people. I get that. And I could teach you how to handle those feelings. So it's very cool because, like you said, it's like Lois and Jonathan have this bond, Clark and Jordan have this bond, but it's just awesome because where Jonathan has been feeling more out, where before he was the popular guy, the successful football player, now he's got the broken hand, and, you know, he really feels like he's on the outside in so many ways. This was a really great moment just for the show and what they've been building up to. So it's really cool how they handled this.
So, yeah, actually, I'd like to bring up, I forgot. Why did they have to quit football? Can someone explain that to me?
Well, Jordan,
I understand Jonathan
broke
his hand. But
I think
why?
Jordan, just because like super hearing, like all that stuff is really peaking right now, and so it's like, we got to stop this.
Yeah, they mentioned it at the beginning when they were fixing the car.
The coach wanted the kit back.
Yeah, he said they squared it away with the coach. He said the coach doesn't like it, but obviously that's their decision as a family. They've thought, you know what, we're drawing too much attention. Jordan's going through too much stuff. Jonathan can't even play football now, so it's just like it's a bit dodgy in it. Like I mean, having Jordan on the pitch without Jonathan there to be able to give him that support as well would be something that I would be concerned with, as you know, if I was Clark or Lois.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they make it pretty clear when they're talking by the car that they've just come to that decision as a family, which again feeds into the end of last episode when they all said, you know, no more secrets. We're in this together.
Yes.
We're going to make decisions together. So it's good that they pick up in this episode with that kind of aspect of the family where they're all.
Well, that goes back to what I loved from Smallville. Is they had a strong Kent family dynamic, and even though they had those times where they were at odds, they really did do a good job working through it together as a family. And that's one of the things that I love about this show, because that's one of the best parts of Smallville, and they're carrying that onward in this show with this new Kent family, and it's just really good how they're doing it.
I love that. And you guys, I really like the X-ray in this show. I think
I do too. Yes.
It's really cool.
Yeah, the X-ray vision effect. Like, Smallville is unique, especially for the early 2000s. Like, yeah, of course, why wouldn't that look like an X-ray? But it's very cool in this because it's like Clark seeing the different color spectrums, and that's how he's able to have X-ray vision.
Yeah, it's good. Right, something that we've not quite talked about yet. We're moving away from the Kents for a little while. We're going to go to
the Lana drama. I like Lana in this episode. I'm fine with it.
I was hoping to get through just one episode.
I can't let you have that, Ryan. As long as I'm here, I cannot let you have that.
I'm throwing a card up. So, father-daughter jam session.
Oh, I can care less about this entire section.
What?
I just didn't care. Sarah's auditioning for a play. Whoop-de-doo. I didn't care.
No. Right. Shut up, Durban. Get out.
It's actually Kyle being good and being a father rather than
I like the Kyle aspect of it, and I'm a fan of Kyle. I really like Kyle, and I really like Lana. And for it showcasing Kyle, and for it showcasing him trying to, do something fun with his daughter, that part I liked. I'm like, are we going to have a C plot now of her being in a play? Because I don't care.
Yeah, but it's not about her being in a play. It's about so much more than her being in a play. One, it's about father and daughter relationship, restoration / kind of crumbling. And it's also about her and Jordan and them kind of growing closer together, and Jordan stepping up to the plate in the time when she needs it. It's got bugger all to do with the play. Although I've got to say, she's got a really good voice.
You know what? She does. And I was, and my wife was watching it with me. She goes, "Is that the actress?" I'm like, "I think it is. It sounds like her."
Better than the guy who was on before the recital.
Oh man. But no, I love this little moment because I love how excited Kyle seems to be getting. See, Kyle's a complicated character because he's one of those guys that if he feels like he's got the support network around him of his family, of the ones who are supposed to love him, then he's up there and he's doing everything right. He's trucking along the way he should be.
Yeah.
The moment that starts to crumble, he just gives up.
Which we see later.
Just drops. Yeah. And it's like, obviously, I mean, like at the moment we're on the part where actually he's up there.
Yes.
And I like it. I like seeing it. I like that he's going to some effort to repair the damage that perhaps he'd done previously.
And not only that, but how cool was it to see him show up at Lana's work before, things went south. So right before it goes south, where he shows up at work and he's excited because he's got the video on his cell phone of her singing, and he's just excited to share that with Lana. It's like you said, he's a very good, complex character, and I like him. Like, I'm totally Team Kyle. he's on the wrong side right now, but that's only because he doesn't have all the information. But if he had all the information, I think he'd be right there with Lana, like on her side of things. But I really do like this character.
It's a very interesting character. He's very identified. You know, I mean, who doesn't know somebody kind of like Kyle? So oh God, I feel bad for Kyle.
I do too. And one of the reasons I feel so bad is it's a real tragedy, right? Because as the audience, we know Lana is just trying to protect him. And we know Lars and Edge, they're really trying to drive a wedge into their marriage. So we know the bad guys have their own little plan going. We know that Lana and Kyle really love each other. And we know Lana's just trying to protect him. But since, you know, he doesn't know all of that stuff, it sucks when it goes down south. Like, I was hurting for him when it went down the wrong way.
Yeah. I do have one critique for Lana, though. You gotta start planting seeds. I don't know why she's still acting like Edge is this great guy. I understand she's in a, you know, he really likes Edge, but she's got to crack in very carefully by just planting little seeds of, oh, I saw this, that was kind of made me uncomfortable, or he did this. Like, do something to kind of start to make him not think that he's Lord.
Yeah.
Like telling him the truth about what she's doing.
And you know, I understand why she's not telling him. Because
I don't think she can right now. He's not going to believe her. It would just put a wedge. Trust me. He is... Morgan Edge is his saint right now.
Yeah.
Can't just come and say that, you know. Trust me, I've dealt with people like that right now. Anyway, so you have to just plant a little seeds just to show, just to start getting some doubts. Not to say that it's going to change his mind right now, but if you keep planting the seeds for long enough, and you can get him there. You don't want to just go. You can't just turn it off. You don't want him to just figure it out on his own. So she's making a mistake right now, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I agree with your critique. I mean, even in this moment, I'm sure she kind of had a panic button moment, like, oh crap, what do I say? Because Lars just dropped that bomb on him, and we, the audience, know how intentional and well placed that is. Because we go back to the first episode, you know, Morgan Edge was crushing on Lana, like. He's fine with having some Lana drama in his life. And so you can see like the wedge that this man is trying to create in their marriage. And I agree with you 100%. She needs to be doing what she can to help out Lois. Yes, but she needs to start planting the right seeds because this hurt Kyle a lot. And it sucked to see it.
But it's hurt her daughter in the process.
Yep.
It's like, Lana hurts Kyle, which has a knock-on effect that hurts her daughter, and then it then has a knock-on effect that the daughter doesn't want anything to do with the father. And it's just like, oh man, this domino effect kind of thing. It's just So
he needs like a AA meeting, you know, so that way, you know, like a support person, so that when he's feeling these feelings instead of going to the bottle. But I mean, there are a lot of people. That's a very real issue, and we are skipping ahead on this story.
I feel like we've kind of talked. I mean, I'm not going to throw up these slides because we're talking about all of this stuff in one. So obviously we have Lana lying to Kyle. We've got the audition going on, which Kyle doesn't turn up to because Lana has lied to Kyle.
Yep.
And then we have obviously the disappointment.
And you know what sucks with this scene is that scene right there, where that picture is. He's actually taking alcohol bottles and throwing them away. Like he knows he messed up. He knows he relapsed. And he doesn't want to keep doing that. So it's like, I loved seeing his effort there. Like, he knows he messed up bad, and he's trying to throw it all away. But I also understand where Sarah was coming from. Like, don't do that. Don't make another promise. It's like, oh, man, the whole scene is so well done, and it just guts you.
And it's such a cycle, and this happens to people that are alcoholics. You know, it's like you something happens to you, you do something stupid, and you start drinking again, then you hurt someone, then you feel bad for hurting that person, and makes you want to drink again. And it's such a hard cycle for people to break. But God, it's such a real issue that happens to a lot of families that they are bringing into the show. So, and they're doing it really well.
Yeah. So I'm Team Kyle. I'll say that again. I like him. He's such a good character, and I like the guy who's playing him, and it just sucks the struggle that he's going through right now.
And I'll say that I loved her voice in the audition, and it did feel a little bit fast for me from Jordan to go, I definitely can't play. I wanted to see a little bit more hesitation and a little more struggle from him. That's my only critique in that scene. And I do love the two boys talking when Jonathan just comes in just destroyed and like, how come you're not answering my texts? And that was such a great moment between the boys, that they continually have those boys come back together, you know.
And I love their bond. And I know some people have theories that one of the twins is going to end up being a bad guy. I hope never, because I love this bond that they have and how they keep coming back to each other with all this junk they're going through. Even when they fight each other, it's like by the end of the episode, they're teamed up again. And I love that.
I know, kind of like Clark and Lex in Smallville.
Yes! Well, until a little bit later in Smallville, where it started to become a bit more permanent. But up until that point, I 100% agree with you. They really did have that brotherly dynamic. And I don't want to see Jonathan and Jordan go the way of Clark and Lex.
That's what I'm saying. It could happen.
I know it could, and it better not, because I love both of them together like that.
I know. I hope not, but it also creates a lot of drama. All right. We'll move on from that.
We have just to finish up on the Kyle and Sarah stuff. We had a comment. Just to be where has it gone? So Aubrey James said that he thinks Kyle's going to die a hero's death.
Oh, that would hurt. I hope not. Oh, no.
So I think that he's going to end up getting one of those Kryptonians. That's just going to happen. But it's going to happen
between it happening to him or happening to Lana. That's what I'm torn between.
I thought at first it was going to be Lana. I feel almost sure it's going to be Kyle at this point. And it could end up causing his death, or he'll have to fight it. We'll have to see what happens there. But I could see it ending in his death, or it could end in someone saving him.
Yeah.
So, or him saving himself.
Leslie and Morgan are still after him joining the program. It was Lana, wasn't it, that really turned him down?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there might still be that push there for him to, go on the escape.
Yeah. It's too early for it to happen to him now, so I understand how they're doing that. But wait until we get to the last of the end of the season.
Well, this conversation is giving me a theory, but I will talk about that theory when we get to that point in this discussion.
I think as a season 1 closer, if you need someone to die at the moment, he's a prime candidate.
I like Kyle. I don't want him to die. I really don't. I mean, if he dies a hero's death, that's good. Good redemption moment. But I want Kyle to stick around. I like him.
I love that we're all sat here now saying Team Kyle, and if you go back to our pilot episode review, we were like, what a douche.
But that's a character well done, because they just brought us to his, like, we understand where he's coming from, and they've done such a good job with it that we just feel for him.
Would you guys still be on Team Kyle if I didn't help you see his side from the pilot?
Oh, you were just sitting on the fence. You were sat on the fence so much you had splinters in your ass. Come on, it's just like...
I was going to say, this show helped me be Team Kyle. Like, this show helped me see his perspective.
It's good writing. But,
we'll let our fans say. You guys let me know. What you really think.
Mentioned in one of the Facebook groups, Kyle's character is written for you to dislike him and hate him. But, you've got to feel for him, really. What he's going
I think to begin with, it seemed like he was going to be the character that was written that way, but they've really humanized him over the course of these episodes. So I don't think that way anymore. I don't think the writers are sat there now thinking still, but this is the guy that we're writing so that you hate him. Not at all at this point.
Just Morgan Edge is the only one that's not very dynamic at this point.
No,
they
and
haven't
I hope
really
he does
given
become more dynamic.
Yeah.
He's just
we don't feel for him at all right now. He's just...
Yeah, well, we don't really know who's pulling his strings yet, do we?
No.
Or is he the one pulling the strings?
Why?
Or is it a Kryptonian? Oh my gosh, like what's going on? Oh,
we don't know. Is he Zod? I don't know.
Is he? He could be. I'm wondering now. I'm wondering now if when Superman turned on the other Earth, did he turn because he's possessed by another Kryptonian? Is he possessed by Zod? So is that really Kal-El?
I really hope that's the reason. Someone threw that theory out. I'll say it wasn't mine, and I said, "Oh, I really like that," because I want there to be a reason why that Superman is bad over there.
Yes, and it sounds like Morgan Edge had something to do with what was bad over there and Superman's turn and the other Kryptonians that showed up. But we're going to get into that in a second. I don't want to try to get ahead of us or anything.
We don't know what Ex-Kryptonite's going to do to Clark, and I know people are like, wow, he opened it before, and I was like, well, that doesn't mean, maybe he has to touch it. Maybe there has to be heat. I mean, who knows what
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think that's what one of the things this show is doing so well. It is giving us more questions than answers, but they're those intriguing kind of questions that makes you want to watch more because you're really into the story and what they're doing. And so the fact that this episode kind of solidified the idea that somehow these people are becoming Kryptonian and are Kryptonian powers and possessed by Kryptonians, it's like, what, where, how, what, why?
So next up, moving again to different aspects of the plot, is this interrogation scene of John Henry Irons.
And this goes right into what I was just talking about.
So if you want to talk some more about that, you may feel free to do so. But yeah, so basically one of the Kryptonians is disguised as a guard, or one of the guards has become a Kryptonian.
Yeah.
During
Lieutenant
the course of time. Yeah. So he's
been reincarnated right here.
Yes.
Resurrected.
Yeah,
as they said in the beginning of the show. Let
Yes,
the resurrection begin.
Yep, and that it's just so interesting, especially in this interrogation scene, where John Henry Irons says, what happened in my world is already happening here. So obviously, I don't think John Henry Irons had the whole story because he really thought Superman was soulless, careless, and didn't care about people. So he thought Superman just turned because Kryptonians showed up and he aligned with his people. So he just thought Superman he didn't care. And so it's very interesting, though, his verbiage there. What happened in my world is already happening here. And, like you said, what you just brought up, let the resurrection begin. I've been resurrected. I'm already dead. Like what they said in that fight between Superman and Derek, it's like, I am now convinced that, here's my spoiler. Everybody, Smallville Season 5, spoiler alert, right now. When Brainiac transformed Lex Luthor to have the powers of a Kryptonian and then transferred the Phantom of General Zod from the Phantom Zone to possess Lex, I think that is very clearly what is happening right now. And I don't understand, like you said, Lisa, who is pulling Morgan Edge's strings? Where could he have ever figured out how to do that? What role does Ex-Kryptonite have in this process of resurrecting Kryptonians? Like, what the frick is going on right now?
It's almost like Tess, right, with the Kryptonians in season 9, how she kind of opened up that Pandora's box. Because she wanted to save the world. Again, we're not getting Morgan Edge's perspective, and I really hope we get it soon. Because that would really bring some more layers to that character.
If there is
but there's the
layers, yeah.
If Morgan Edge doesn't have powers, and there isn't someone pulling his strings, why would Leslie follow him when she's the one with the obvious power? So there's something going on there.
Yep. Yeah.
What hole does it?
I want to talk about Sam.
If Leslie is a Kryptonian, that is now in a human's body, then she must need Morgan Edge's resources and whatnot in order to free the rest of her people, so to speak.
I mean, maybe they don't get their power from the sun. Maybe they need the X-Kryptonite and that CAT scan looking thingy to continue to re-energize them and recharge them. Like,
So also important in this interrogation is that Sam finds out that on the other world, Superman killed his daughter.
Yeah.
He looks right at Clark at that moment.
Yes.
And you could see that, you know, there was definitely some stuff turning where he, you know, he's going to protect his daughter. Like, I think that, anyway, there were some seeds planted there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
I say real quick? I love what they did between Clark and Sam in this episode, because we got a little more layers to Sam, because I loved his line where he said, I hope for the best, but it's my job to prepare for the worst, even with you. Because he's a general. He needs to protect his country. And Superman is incredibly powerful. It makes sense that even though Clark is his son-in-law, he does have to prepare for the worst. And it's kind of like Smallville season 9 when Chloe was stockpiling all that kryptonite. It's the exact same thing. It's like, well, I guess it's not wrong that you're doing this, because there's more Kryptonians coming and we're going to need all of these weapons.
It's a little bit different with what Chloe did, because Chloe didn't do it to Clark, where Sam did not know that there were other Kryptonians.
Very true.
Even Batman came up with a way to bring down the entire Justice League, just in case they went
It's so
bad.
true. That was a great animated movie too.
But here's the other problem, though. Okay, every time that you create a weapon to disable Superman, you're opening up another security problem where a villain could potentially get that weapon.
Yeah.
And
what if Superman gets hopped up on red kryptonite from another villain? I mean, you've got to have some way to at least disable him long enough to clean his system.
But that's you're applying a logic there that could just as easily be applied to the arms race.
Right.
It's like why build a nuclear arms program? Because if you do, it's going to make the other side build a nuclear arms program.
But isn't that
but if we have more nuclear arms, then we'll be stronger than them. So then, before you know it, you got two big countries all just stockpiling arms that would obliterate the planet when 5 would do. It's what the military would do, I think.
Yes. It's true, but it is dangerous. There is a danger in creating weapons to disable Superman. There does need to be a way to disable him, though, and because he could get possessed, how many times did that happen in Smallville where Clark needed to be disabled?
Yes.
I'm all on board with. I mean, he kept a green rock in his barn for that reason.
Yep. I mean, you go to the comics, and a lot of comic versions, Batman was given a stockpile of kryptonite by Superman for reasons just such as this. So it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, so this soldier who's actually a Kryptonian, he takes John Henry Irons, and they go to a weapons room, which basically has this whole stockpile of kryptonite-infused weaponry. That's the one, And then Superman, being the hero that he is, after being told point blank, look, if you go there, there's a very high probability that you ain't coming out.
Yeah.
So what does he do? Straight there. Go straight there. So,
I said this in my review, and I think what makes this more powerful is here's John Henry Irons not trusting Superman justly because of what he saw on his Earth. Mm-hmm. So it's up to our Superman on our Earth to show John Henry Irons who he really is. And here in this moment, he's really putting his life on the line for a man who's acted like a villain towards him up until this time. And we see the compassion of Superman, that rather than Superman viewing it as a threat, you were married to my wife on another Earth, he didn't view that as a threat. Instead, he looked at it as a point of compassion. I understand your feelings towards Lois. I have them too. So instead of letting himself be threatened by that, it actually became this point of compassion for him where he could understand where John is coming from. And I thought that was incredible. And I'm hoping that as the episodes progress, that as Superman has tried to see this from John's perspective, I hope John tries to see this from Superman's perspective.
Yep. Yes. And I thought they've certainly done a lot of work in a very short amount of time to create that 7734 weaponry.
Yes.
Yeah.
They might have had it for a while, and that might have been Sam Lane's reaction, right? They might have. It might have been existing for some time.
Well, I think it has. I don't think he's created this since he was given the dog tags. I think it was already in existence, and when he got the dog tags, it was kind of. Well, I think when he got those dog tags, he saw them and thought, "Whoa, crap! How does someone know about this?"
That's when he said he was going to activate the program. So, and the door had it on there, 77.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but that suggests the program was already fully in kind of, it was already something he was creating, already something he was designing.
I think it was already creating. I mean, he said there were all kinds, not just the two things we saw, which was the kryptonite spear and the gas pellet, right from Batman v Superman. But he said there were other experimental kryptonite weapons, so more than just that. So they've been doing this for a while.
He didn't radio through and say activate the program, only for the person on the other end to go, what program? What does that mean? 773. What are we supposed to do with that? No, he said activate the program. Got you. So they already know.
So maybe they had a design, but they hadn't actually made them yet.
Well, even John Henry Irons, when he's being brought through those hallways, like he recognized the hallways. He goes, if you wanted to escape, you should have turned left back there. So he's very familiar with this facility. So I'm thinking this facility has been here for a while on our Earth as they've been building it out and experimenting with these weapons. And it's interesting.
So as with any episode, we get a bit of a smackdown with Superman because you've got to have that little bit of action in there. And basically, Superman goes up against the Kryptonian soldier dude, and violence ensues.
You're on the wrong side.
That is such a good fight.
Did you think it was?
Well, I enjoyed it. Like, it was fun because you have a Kryptonian soldier and you have Superman, a Kryptonian, and now they're both weakened by this kryptonite. So as they're fighting, it's both a little bit stronger than the average man, but they're also both very depowered. And it's just very interesting watching Superman just with his whole forearm slamming this guy down to the ground, just trying to keep him down, and Superman trying to use what strength he has less just to make sure this guy is defeated. And so I loved that. It was very much Batman v Superman, but I didn't take it as ripping off Batman v Superman. I kind of looked at it as like that Man of Steel fight when they were flying, through the cornfields and stuff. To me, it's like just paying homage and respect to what they've done before. And it was a very interesting build-up to the Kryptonite Spear because that was a total Martha scene. But because of what we had seen with Lois and the pain that she'd been going through, and what we've seen with John Henry Irons and the pain that he's been going through, they did such a good job of connecting their character arcs and their stories that it's like, wow, I get what they were going through with Batman v Superman, but the execution of that was way better here.
Yeah, that was a definite Martha moment, only rather than Martha.
I mean, Lois. They even shouted out the name Natalie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it just was because you've got these two characters. There's no way around it. That was, you say homage, I say rip off, but it was just that was a Batman. I have no qualms about it. I think they said, look, let's do Batman v Superman, but let's do it our way. Let's take a bit more time with it and make the motives a bit clearer. You got two men who both love the same woman essentially. Yep. It's just It is. It's the same, and it's that mutual connection to the same person or the same figure in one's life.
And they both had a mutual connection to that name, Natalie.
Yeah.
A very emotional connection to it.
I love how we feel emotionally connected to John Henry Irons, though. And I ever since that he felt that emotion towards Lois a couple episodes back, I started to feel it, which I think is amazing when you do that with someone that kind of came in as the villain in the first episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I hope that they do something with Morgan. That's the only thing. So.
Yeah, I agree with that because they, like you said, we get John Henry Irons' layers, perspective, and all of that stuff, and they really flesh him out as a character, so it's more compelling when him and Superman are fighting or there's a situation going on, and they've done that with Kyle. They really fleshed out his character, but they really have not dived into Morgan Edge, and it's like, is that a flaw, or are they saving that? I hope they're saving it. I hope we really get deeper in his character soon.
And Lois's boss. Oh yeah, I want to see boss.
Yeah.
So just a final moment on that whole sequence there. We get this little moment here with lost trust between Sam Lane and Superman, and Sam Lane saying that he is going to have to earn that trust back.
Well, I said this in my review, so I'm curious what you guys think about this, because I don't feel like the way it was said, I feel like they're both going to work towards trust. And I don't think Superman is going to hate his father-in-law anymore for this. I feel like even though Superman is upset, he's hurt, and he feels betrayed, the way they were talking to each other, I feel like they're going to build towards trust again. I mean, what do you guys think about that moment?
Could go either way.
Yeah, I personally, I don't think
trust is a two-way street. I like that though.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't see them making Sam Lane an out-and-out villain. This, because at the end of the day, it's Lois's dad. I just don't see it. I think he'll go off the rails here and there, but he'll always get pulled back to where he needs to be. But no, I just think they've come to a place at the end of this where they recognize that they need to work a bit harder to trust each other. But
I think that being where they are right now with the trust between them, it's going to create problems later on. This isn't resolved, and it's going to create more. I saw a lot of doubt coming from Sam in this episode. I think that he has some trust issues with Superman.
He has to prepare for the worst, and he's hearing about this other world, and it's scary.
He's hearing that his father gets killed by his daughter gets killed by him, and I think that's just gonna sow more doubts, and so he's not gonna trust him, and it's gonna become a problem. And I think that things are still gonna get worse before they get better. But I do like that they recognized it. I do want to call out, and I thought it's very interesting that Clark calls Sam General Sam Lane. He calls him Sam. He doesn't call him General. He doesn't call him General Lane. He calls him Sam. So they are on a very friendly basis in that way.
As it should be. So just to lead us into our last slide, will John Henry Irons find out?
I ranted about this in my most recent review.
No, the thing is,
he's got the glasses. He's never gonna know.
I've got to say, every time we've had a scene in which John Henry Irons and Superman and Lois are all stood together, or John Henry Irons, Lois and Clark are stood together, in my head, Irons already knows, and then something happens to remind me that Irons doesn't know, and I'm always caught off guard. I'm always like, oh yeah, he doesn't actually know that Clark is Superman, which is staggering to me.
Well, because
absolutely staggering.
I love Tyler Hoechlin. He is great in this role. But Christopher Reeve made a difference between Clark Kent and Superman. And really, the only one who's come close to replicating that is Tom Welling. And you really see him trying to do that in Smallville season 10. But here, there is no difference whatsoever in the look, the personality, or even how they stand. They are the exact same person on every level. And I'm like, how do you not see this?
So you know what bothers me the most is that the voice, you think that the voice would, God, because sometimes, you hear someone's voice, you don't even see them, and they're like, oh, that's that person. Like, he doesn't change his voice at all. How do you not?
I know! Christopher Reeve got all nasally as Clark Kent. Like, he changed everything.
You could change your voice. I mean, voice actors have, you could change your voice in 100 different ways, and he has not changed it at all.
No!
And that bothers me in scenes like this. I'm like, how do you not know? And not just him, but Sarah had Superman talk directly to her.
Yes.
Was that last episode or the episode before? I don't know. But that at that moment, I was like, how does she not know that that's, I can almost understand. People don't even know that Superman has a secret identity, right?
Right.
They don't know that he has like a normal, and so Clark is kind of klutzy, and okay, I see that, but the voice bothers me.
Yes.
If they had made the voice different, it would be more believable.
And John Henry Irons is not your average citizen. He's a soldier. Like, things like this, he would be trained to pick up on. Like, he would be trained to be observant. He's a trained warrior. You would think this would be something he would pick up on. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You met Clark and you met Superman.
What about the AI that does voice recognition? Because they obviously can't see.
Yes!
Yeah, but he thought it was Lex Luthor, so it's all good. It's just...
So then how...
Lex Luthor, so yeah.
Now, they're saving this. There's going to be a big reveal later, right? And it's going to be epic when he realizes Superman is married to Lois, my wife, in this world. What? Like, there's going to be a really big reveal coming, but he should have picked up on it now.
So they're building up to the Cushings finding out, because we have Sarah kind of doubting. We have Lana kind of doubting. Kyle, they even get a little bit of Kyle with like that fire scene in the few back, what was that? So
I'm positive Lana's going to find out this season.
So at some point, the Cushing family is going to find out. But I think that Steele is definitely going to find out probably by the end of this season, because as someone was saying, is there going to be a Steel spinoff? There might be. I don't know.
I hope they really do turn him into Steel, because I don't know if you guys saw the animated movies, The Death of Superman and The Reign of the Supermen. They are really well done. And Steel is such a great character. And so I'm happy because, like, when the reveal came that this was John Henry Irons, it's like, oh, interesting. And then you see he's not really a villain. He's just acting off the information and the pain that he has. So he's not a bad dude. And so I would love to see him build to becoming Steel, and maybe even saving Superman from the fate that Superman encountered on the other Earth.
Well, Aubrey, I've forgotten your second name.
James.
Aubrey James, yeah. So Aubrey I think it was Aubrey anyway, who suggested earlier that there was he wanted to see a Steel spin-off.
Yeah.
And I would be all for that, really.
I do have one comment about that scene, though. This guy almost killed Superman not once, twice. And they should have put him together as the guy who was trying to disable these nuclear plants, right? Which is dangerous. He could have killed a lot of people.
Right.
So how could they just let him go? I mean, did they at least put a tracking device on him?
I don't know.
Well, Superman's got something to do with that, because he comes down at the end and he talks to him and he says this, because even he says, even John Henry Irons says, "What? I just get to walk out of here."
And we're extending to you trust.
Yeah, and Superman says, look, this is an extension of trust. So clearly this is something Superman has worked out with General Lane. It doesn't mean that Lane and his boys aren't going to keep tabs on this guy, which I would imagine they will. But it does stand to reason. I mean, this guy's got nothing. He's come from a world that is now destroyed.
Can he go back? How did he get there? There's so many questions. All right, we had the ship, and that's all we saw. Like, was that a time-traveling ship?
But did you notice the red glow? Remember the crisis on Infinite Earths and the skies turned red? So I'm wondering, like,
Can he go
We need to see
back?
more. We have
Tell
got to
me.
see more. Yeah.
So many questions.
Me too.
And on that note, I will ask for final wrap-up thoughts and scores out of 5. Durban, you go first. Let us know what you think.
This one's a hard one to find my score. I'm probably going to go with like a 4 out of 5. It was good. I think the last episode was a lot funner for me, but this one, 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. They did a great job with the emotion, a great job pulling us into these characters. I liked the Batman v Superman homages in this, so yeah.
Yeah.
I just have so many questions, and I'm just start answering them. Quit giving me more. Just start answering some. This is so interesting.
Lisa.
I'll go with a 4 as well. Last season was a 5. This was good, but it wasn't as good as number 7. So yeah, 4.
I agree with a 4. That's what I was gonna say.
All right.
I thought the emotion
screw
was.
You all, because I'm going with a 5.
I thought the emotion was really good. I thought that I don't know, the action wasn't as great as some of the other episodes have been. But that's it.
Yeah, I like the fight scene, but it didn't. Like Nicole says, like if you look at some of the fight scenes we've had in previous episodes, I've been like, whoa, yeah, it's like Man of Steel. Whereas this one, it was just like two guys struggling.
I just thought that was something a little bit more compelling because they're both struggling through kryptonite gas. And
it did do it for me. It was just visually.
I don't know.
Like,
maybe they just didn't show enough of the struggle with the kryptonite or something. I don't know. Yeah, it was good, not great.
The thing that always gets me more,
but it's still 5 for you, Brian. So
yes, it is because of the emotional stuff. That's what I was going to say. The thing that always gets me more is I love action. Don't get me wrong. You know, you come to a Superman show, you want action, you want to see heroics. But if I had an episode where the action was like top notch, really great stuff, but the emotional kind of beats weren't that great, it just there's no way it would come close to getting a 5. But for me, I was so invested in the Lois and Jonathan stuff, and even in the Kyle stuff, that I just thought they nailed it from a performance standpoint, from a writing standpoint. Dealing with the subject of having a miscarriage is a pretty tricky subject to delve into. If you are going to delve into it, you better make me cry by the end.
I think they did. I mean, I didn't cry, but I felt the emotion pretty strong by the end.
I had a tear. I had one single Denzel Washington tear just rolling down my face. And it's just like, that got me. So to me, I can forgive a little bit of action that maybe wasn't on par with previous episodes.
I agree that it's just great action is not going to do it for me. But I like to have, for 5, it's got to have both the emotion and the action.
I could agree with you, Nicole. That's agree.
Why it's 100%. Great emotion. Action was a little off. But some of the other episodes had great action and great emotion. So they get a 5.
So this episode is currently ranked as the second best episode of the series on IMDb.
Nice.
With was it the last episode that? So you weren't here with us.
No, I wasn't. I missed
the last episode. We all gave it 3.5.
Yes.
What, episode 7?
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought episode 7 was pretty darn good.
Well, according
6
to
was probably better. 6 was way better, but
according to IMDb, they agree with you because it's still ranked as the highest ranking episode, which I personally think is bollocks. Because
I mean, to each their own, but I enjoyed episode 7 quite a bit.
I haven't voted yet for this one.
Yeah, I just think we found too many flaws with it last episode. Still a very enjoyable episode. Like if that episode's your weakest link, then you're doing something right. But we were very surprised to find that was ranked number 1 so far. And I said last episode that I expected that score to come down as more people watched it. Turns out I was wrong. People still rank that as the highest ranking episode.
Maybe not enough people have seen 6. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But I would still say 6. Yeah, I would still say 6 is the best episode so far, and I would say this is second, just because of that emotional hook that really grabbed me throughout. So yeah, 5 out of 5 from me. Loving this series at the moment. Thank you to everyone who joined in on the live broadcast, and thank you to those who may be watching afterwards. But until next time, I'll come up with a phrase at some point. I need to sign off. Till next time, see you on the flip side.